Welcome back, everyone. I've got another great session for you today. Another quick tip. With me, I have a PM from Microsoft. Carly, welcome to our quick tips today. I think everyone's going to enjoy this one. We've been hearing a lot about Copilot, all these things around our data models. Carly's going to deep dive for us on how to prep your data with AI. Carly, take it away.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. I'm glad I didn't scare you off the first time you had me on. So
No, it's fine.
Thank you for the repeat invite. I'm here to talk mainly, two main things that are very much intertwined. One, this standalone Copilot experience that you've probably been hearing about. Maybe it's getting turned on in some of the tenants. You're starting to experiment with it. So I'm here to talk about that. What is it? Why are we doing it? And then also how to take a step back and look at your data and make sure it's ready with the tools that we've given you to prep that data for that standalone Copilot experiences. So your end users have really good, really contextually nuanced to your organization conversations with their data.
Awesome. With that, we'll jump right into a desktop and we'll start showing you what does this experience, the standalone Copilot experience look like.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
Great. Okay, so this is the standalone Copilot experience. Before I actually get into some of the clicky demo, I want to first take a step back. Why are we even doing this? What is the point? What problem are we solving here, right? So when we chat with customers, when I specifically chat with customers, there's two main things that we hear. One, it's really, really hard for people to find the right data. And even in Microsoft, like we fall victim to this. I have access to I don't know, thousands of reports or something. And it's hard to know which report has the one slice of data that I need. So it's really, really hard to find the right content. And two, once I find that content, it takes me a while to get from my question to my answer. So if we take these kind of two issues that we're seeing and put them together, this is what we're aiming to solve with this standalone Copilot experience. It's really, really good at me just coming in here and asking a question. I don't have to find the report or find a semantic model. I can just come in here and say, what is my Power BI usage? And Copilot will tell me, okay, based on your question and based on you and your history, this is the artifact that you should be looking at. So it takes a lot of the work out of actually finding it, which is great because it doesn't have to be reports. It doesn't have to be semantic models. We can also chat with data agents, which I know you love. I know you do a lot with data agents. So it's really great. You can have conversations across all of your data. And then we, of course, after that, do the thing that we do well in the report panes. We help you get to insights faster. And that prep piece that I'm going to talk about is going to even shorten that time from question to answer by making sure the insights that Copilot gives are really relevant to me as a user. So
this feels a little bit like a data catalog using AI at some degree. Because again, there's potentially lots of, I have environments that have hundreds of things and workspaces and all over the place. So having this experience here is going to really kind of help you communicate with your data and hopefully surface things that are most relevant to you. This is great. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's from the jump. This is one of the things that I find most useful here. I'm maybe airing the dirty laundry a little bit, but again, I have 5 or 6 reports that I use to look at the features that I work on and what the usage is. And I'm I don't even know which report contains which piece of data that I need. I always use this to find my data. So from the jump, very, very useful.
Love it.
All right, let me pull up my little notepad here so that you guys don't have to watch me to struggle to type. All right, so we're here. We're in our Copilot standalone experience. I'm going to first show what this looks like for our end users for a real life problem. So let's imagine I work in an e-commerce site and I'm just trying to look at some of my funnel data, some of my campaign analysis data. So right off the bat, I'm going to just start not by navigating to a specific report, but instead just saying, show me the reports that I have about my campaign funnel health. I don't know where this stuff lives really. It exists across a couple different reports, but I specifically want to know about my funnel health. So this is going to give me a list of items that say, okay, based on your prompt and the things that you've opened recently, the things that have tooling done on them, these are the most relevant kind of important things for you to look at to consider answering your question. This name I recognize, campaign analysis prepped, and I can see that it's prepped. That is not part of the UI. That is actually the title of the report, just to avoid confusion here. So I can just say, yeah, actually, that's the one I want to use. I see that it's matched on the title and its contents, and I recently opened it. So I'm going to say use campaign analysis prepped. And I'm starting to have just a conversation with Copilot. I can also say use 5 or use the 5th report. That would work too. So now it's saying, great, you chose this report. What do you actually want to know? We've gotten you to the right data. What's your question? To which I'm going to start broad and say, give me an overview of my data. And we're going to watch as Copilot helps me figure out what are the main topics I should be looking at, what are the outliers, what are the anomalies. And so what this is going to do is scan my report that I've just chosen here and look through all of my visuals and tell me, here's what's going on, here's what's most relevant to you, and here are the actual visuals from the report paired with the insights so that you can do a little gut check, right? I can make sure that for each item, each sentence that Copilot is saying, hey, here's something interesting to look at, it's rooted in my report data that I know has been curated by an author. So I'm getting this kind of like newsletter format. It's looking really good. I'm seeing a lot of visuals here. I won't take time to like actually read through every sentence. You can rewatch the video for that, but the sentences look really good too. So now let's get into the crux of why I actually wanted to find this report. I'm going to say, well, I didn't see anything in here specifically about funnel health, and I do still want to know about my funnel health. So what is the funnel health for B2B customers? Now, Mike, I'm tricking Copilot a little bit here, or I'm trying to trick Copilot, because funnel health is actually not in my report. It is not anywhere in the semantic model. But wait, how did it generate an answer if it's not in my semantic model, you might be asking? We do that with a verified answer. So this is something I'll go over in the prep area. It's essentially a way for authors to say, okay, for these specific questions that are really important to the business or very frequently asked questions, here's the authoritative answer that I always want Copilot to give time and time again to make sure that it's correct. It's the right answer. And the fun thing about this is, like I said, funnel health is not anywhere in my semantic model, but this is just how my end users and me talk about this kind of chart that I'm seeing here. We just call this funnel health. So it's a way for authors to say, okay, even though I know it's not in the data, when people talk about funnel health, this is the thing that they want to see. So go and respond with this visual. It's very cool.
Nice.
And you might notice I also wanted a filter here. I only want to see it for my B2B customers. The verified answer it matched on is just the basic funnel health, but Copilot did my extra step here. And if I opened how it arrived at this, I can see that it actually did apply a filter. So I'm looking at real contextual data. So very, very powerful. Okay, let's do one more question here. I'm going to say, tell me about earnings versus net income. I said I was going to copy and paste, and I'm not. So apologies for any typos you see. Okay, I'm trying to trick Copilot again and this is another one of those funky examples where earnings and net income actually are not in the report. I'm actually talking about profit and revenue measures, but this is, again, how my end users talk about these things. So I did that prep, which we'll take a look at to make sure that Copilot understands what I actually want to see when I talk about earnings and net income. So this is doing a good job. It's telling me, yep, I'm looking at profit here. This is great. Again, everything is rooted in my report visuals, and I can go to the report if I want to and, filter this further, ask additional follow-up questions. But this is essentially, at a glance, a good chat with your data experience. I had this nice back and forth conversation with the data. And Mike, you might be thinking, this looked very clean. Usually Copilot asks me a lot more follow-up questions or disambiguation questions or asks me, what did you mean by earnings? We don't see that anywhere. And to that, I would say, yes, you are very correct. And it's because I spent some time prepping this data so that it does a good job in this scenario. I know what my end users want. I know how they want their data formatted. I know the terminology that they're using. So I went and basically taught Copilot how to respond to my end users in the way that I want it to. And so that's what we'll get into here in a second. But yeah,
just conceptually here, just for a bit, so I kind of like unpack this a bit more with you. Like, you're kind of acting like the business analyst to some level on top of the semantic model, right? This is something that you know the intent of the users, you know what they're trying to get access to, or the questions they're trying to ask of the model, and so you're kind of acting a bit more of that liaison between people who need to go communicate with that report, that semantic model. There's a lot of things that you won't be able to understand, or there are going to be weird questions they're going to ask, diving deeper into different details. But at least you're, what they call it, anchoring. I guess you're starting to set the anchor, grounding. Sorry, the other heavyweight thing, ground the model a bit more to like what you know as the business user. So now your perception is like, okay, I know what I need to do in order to make this more functional for my users. I don't have to do a lot of extra. You don't have to answer every question for them. You can just focus on the training's experience. I love this. This is great.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it like internally on the product team, we talk about how Copilot is essentially like a fresh, straight out of college analyst that started at your company, right?
Yes.
Like they're very smart. We love those analysts, but they need to go through orientation. Like they don't know off the bat the nuance of your organization. They don't know the acronyms. They don't know the terminology. They don't know how to get leadership, right? They don't know these things. And it's unreasonable to just assume that they would know these things. And Copilot's the same way. This is our nice little beginning analyst. And we, as the seasoned professionals, can just go and provide our analyst, Copilot, the training to teach them that nuance and respond accordingly. So we're just like helping our little Copilot employees do better.
Love it.
That's how we talk about it internally. So okay, so this was the consumption experience, right? This is what I would see as a typical end user. Now I want to take a step back and look at what it actually took as an analyst, me, Carly, as the analyst, to get this result. So I did a little bit of tooling here. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the desktop experience. Maybe. Oh, that's why I wasn't in my dev box. I was wondering why my sizing changed. There we go. Okay, so this is the report that we were just looking at in the standalone Copilot experience, but now we're in desktop where we can actually start to do that prep data for AI and that tooling to make sure that our responses are grounded. So I have this little button up here, prep data for AI. Is this size okay? I know it's a little bit small, but it's tough to zoom on desktop. So maybe
it is.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's a couple different things that I can do to make sure that my data is ready for that immersive experience and for my end users to start asking dynamic questions. And I'll go over all these in more detail, but at a glance, these 3 items are: 1, simplifying the data schema. So this will allow you to basically limit the access that Copilot has to your semantic model to say, don't use these fields or these columns to answer questions from my end users. Verified answers. This is the experience you saw where I said, what is the funnel health? And then it came back and told me, here's the funnel health. And I got that nice funnel visual. This is where authors can go and set up specific answers to commonly asked or frequently asked questions in the visual form and say, every time a user asks this or something similar to this, show this answer. I want it to respond the same every single time, put a little bit more determinism back into Copilot. And then last, we have our AI instructions. And this is basically a black box of the orientation piece, right? That we're like trying to teach our analyst. I can give instructions here about how to respond, how to format, what language means when my end users are talking about this. So we're going to start here and actually see what instructions I gave, and we'll do all the tooling that got me the results that you just saw in the immersive experience. So first off, this one I will copy and paste because there's quite a few instructions that we're going to go through. Oh, actually, I will say right off the bat, it gives you an example so that you don't have to start from scratch. So it's like, hey, here are some things that we kind of commonly see customers do that we know work well. You can do acronyms. You can say what it means when something's on target or off target, things like that. So the ones that I'm going to start with here are specifically getting at that earnings and net income language that you saw me use in the consumption experience, where I'm going to say, hey, when my users ask about earnings, they're actually asking about the profit measure that's located in my measures table. So anytime people ask about that, use that measure to respond. And same with when people talk about income or net income, they're actually talking about revenue. So please, and here's what the measure is, here's where it lives. So please respond accordingly. And this is really powerful because I can just map to my end user's language and they can ask questions like they normally would. And I can anticipate that Copilot's going to give the right answer. Now, like I said, you can kind of go as complex or as simple as you want with these instructions. This is a very simple example and would work well for what I have here. But I do want to give a realistic example of what we typically see our customers doing. And it usually looks something like this, where there's kind of chunks of instruction areas, essentially. So I kept that top part where it says, hey, when end users ask about this, they mean this. And I added one more instruction that says, always include a sentence about, what the percent of the profit is made up by my question. And then I gave an example. And the instructions respond really well to examples. So you can see I say, okay, what I mean by that is when a user asks, what is the profit breakdown across traffic sources, you should respond with a sentence like this. And so it's going to give Copilot a kind of example to go off of and not deviate from that. It's going to always include that little sentence when people are asking about profit. So Copilot the instructions responds really well to examples.
I have a question around this. It looks like you've written this, again, I'm nerd, so I'm putting nerd hat on. It looks like you've written this in Markdown, because I see like the hashtags on things, which is okay. No question on that one. But I also noticed you said always, and you've used the syntax in Markdown that bolds the always. And again, this is just totally random. Does the syntax of bolding things like you're doing here, does that actually change how the Copilot reacts to that word always? Does it understand that that's a higher emphasized item, or is it just because this is just the syntax and what you had it in? Like,
this is because this is the syntax that I had it in.
Okay.
An engineer actually wrote some of these instructions, and I said copy, paste, use.
Yep. Okay, sounds good.
So it doesn't really matter the format that you write it in, so long as it's organized. Although instructions do respond well to Markdown format, because a lot of our system is Markdown. So it does respond well, but it's not a requirement by any means.
And again, this is Michael learning, so bear with me here. So you're also using the word, so it's important to note here that you're using the word always on a couple of these bulleted lines. And I think you're also using capital letters there as well. So that might be more of just a human artifact, right? So that we can read it a bit easier. You can see the syntax. Oh, and always the statement is important. Does the Copilot, is there instructions from Microsoft side? Are they picking up on things that are like all caps, this is important kind of stuff? Or is that something that's, again, just kind of fictitious for us to read? Again, I'm trying to understand what is influencing what the Copilot learns from the way I'm writing my text even.
So sorry, I didn't turn my Teams notifications off. That's dangerous. So it doesn't, I don't think caps or non-caps really makes a difference, but you will see on all the things here where I said like never or always, that is typically done because when I did my testing, it wasn't 100% respecting it. And Copilot does respond to like being told what to do, essentially. And so you can think about it be like, parenting in a stern way, like always do this. And then Copilot says, okay, sorry, you're right, I will always do that. And so it does respond to like always and never. I don't know about the bold or the caps. I can pull up and see if that actually makes a difference, but I don't think it does.
I'm not trying to make more work for you, but I'm just I'm just interested in
completely valid question. Like
it's like
I am showing it on the screen. So
it's like a subtle way of like saying, again, it's like emphasizing directly to, Microsoft or the Copilot, like, hey, this is something that's really important. You get me a better, and this is what we find in like legal documents as well. I read a lot of these legal agreements, and any section you see in all bold, like this is important. You must read this. It's in all caps. So I didn't know there was the same effect going on.
No, valid questions.
Okay. All right, back to you. We were on the clarification protocol.
No problem. Okay, so clarification protocol. This is something that actually Copilot is pretty good at doing already. Essentially, when Copilot's like, hey, you asked about this thing that's not anywhere that I can find. What do you mean by that? We call that clarification questions. It does this generally pretty well, but here I'm saying always do that. Like Copilot, do not guess what my end want just ask them, just be conversational, just do a follow-up question. And I always want Copilot to do that.
Awesome.
And then this last section is essentially polish for me. So there's a specific way that I like my answers formatted. I like some bullet points, but I like mostly sentences. So I'm saying, hey, do a preference for sentences. And I'm also saying, hey, just answer the question in natural language that the user is asking, and then follow it up with insights. And here's what I think an insight is. An insight is when you take data points from different visuals and weave them together into a story. Like I'm telling Copilot exactly how I want in natural language them to answer and respond to questions about the data. So I took a little while to write all these up, and I got some help to write all these up. And these are the exact instructions that you saw result in my good experience in that immersive standalone.
Can I add one more instruction while you're there?
Yeah, sure.
Can you say never use a pie chart? Always use a bar chart instead. Does that work?
That will work. That will work unless it's referencing report visuals. If you have
if the visual's already there.
Yeah, if it's already there, then and it's relevant, it'll use that. But yeah, you can tell the semantic model, because sometimes we'll try to answer or do the report first. If we can't find it there, we'll go to the semantic model, and then generate a visual. And you can say, never generate pie charts. And
I think that should be a rule.
I'm not saying I've seen this before, but I've definitely seen this before. So
yeah, okay, sounds good.
Same word, yeah. Okay, so now I have those instructions. I want to just do a quick side-by-side comparison for you guys. Sorry, my screen is quite laggy right now. So I'm going to have this, there we go, version of desktop here where I've done the instructions. I have another version of the same report where I've not added any instructions. And so we can just take a quick look at what the responses are, how their responses are acting with and without those instructions. So I'm going to do the same question I asked in that immersive experience and say, tell me about my earnings and net income trends. Oh, and actually this is a good tip. Something I should talk about. So this little skill selector piece down here is really, really useful as an author if you're trying to set up tooling or prep data for AI and then test what the responses are going to be. You can uncheck this create new report page skill. And this will essentially tell Copilot, okay, just respond like you would to an end user. Don't try to create me a new page, which can sometimes get in the way of seeing how something will respond. Okay, so let's run these. We're going to see the differences in when I have tooling applied and when I don't have tooling applied. And I will say that it's not that no tooling will result in bad answers by any means. Like they're still going to be good, useful answers, but they're going to be useful answers that beginning analyst might do and not someone that like knows, all the nuance of the organization. So you can see here, it's a little bit small. So I said, tell me about earnings versus net income. And this unprepped side where I don't have instructions gave me, it went to look at my semantic model because it didn't find earnings anywhere or net income in the report. And it made a reasonable choice to say, actually, you have this measure called CPC earn, and we're going to assume you also meant profit. So again, not unreasonable, but contextually not exactly what I wanted. This is more what I wanted. On the prep side, it's giving me an overview and says, hey, earnings, which is profit, and net income, which is total revenue, here's how they're doing. And it's giving me a couple bullet points with those percentages that I asked for. So this just kind of shows the difference of right off the bat, like what those instructions can provide in terms of making sure Copilot is giving contextual answers.
Wow, that is such a different experience. Like the difference between the two, like prepping versus non-prepping. I feel like this is an unlock that we're finding here. Like, so just to be able to add the instructions portion, like that was one of our main complaints with like Q&A and everything else. And like, there's a couple like nuggets that we're landing here with this that didn't exist before in the Q&A experience. I couldn't tell it, don't use any columns that had the word ID in them, because I don't want you to report on the bigger the ID, the cumulative sum of sales is larger in December than in January. Yes, of course it is, because I knew that. Like there's some things you may want to like tell it, like don't say these things. So this is a major, I think, upgrade to what we've been doing previously to Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, and we know and we love Q&A. We use a lot of the Q&A infrastructure to build and have some of these
interesting
experiences, but
yeah,
we know it wasn't exactly hitting the mark for people. It's fine. We can say it. We know it.
It's okay.
And we use those learnings, and this is why we're like exactly like you said, providing people this way to teach Copilot how to respond.
Love it.
So yeah, really powerful experiences, even just with the instructions. But Mike, wait, there's more.
There's more. Awesome.
So let's go back to the prep data for AI section here. So we did AI instructions, simplifying the data schema. This is the first one that I mentioned where you can hide additional columns that you don't want Copilot to use. And you might be thinking, how is this actually different than hiding columns or hiding data in the data model? And it's just an additional control. We'll inherit the state of hidden versus unhidden that you have in your model. And then on top of that, you can unselect specific things that maybe you want your model to be using, but you don't want Copilot to be using, right? So I have a couple things unselected here. This is that table where you saw that CPC earn measure be referenced in the unprep data. So I've unchecked it here. There's like an image table that I've unchecked. And apologies on how laggy my screen is, but that's okay. We'll roll with it. So this is a good control on top of what's already hidden on the model to say, Copilot, use this or don't use this in answering. And then that brings us to verified answers. So this is, again, that funnel health image that you saw, or the visual that you saw. It's actually right back here. This is where I can start to set up those verified answers and say, hey, every single time a user asks this or something semantically similar to this, respond with this specific visual. So let's go ahead and we'll do that funnel analysis verified answer. And I can set it up by right-clicking and say, set up verified answer. And this is where I start to see, okay, this is the visual that people are going to see as the answer. And over here, I can start to add the questions or the phrases that will trigger this visual to be the answer. So here I'll add, what is the funnel health? I can add that. And maybe I'll add more that's like campaign funnel health or something like that. And one common question we get here is, do these have to be an exact match to my question that I ask in Copilot? And the answer is no. So I could ask something about, like, I could just say funnel health. I could say, can you please, Copilot, show me the health of the funnel? And this would trigger this verified answer, as long as it can reasonably be made that, yeah, this semantically
kind of close.
Yeah. And then one more thing I can do here is add a filter. So I can say, hey, I want to support a customer type filter on this specific verified answer, which will unlock that scenario that you saw earlier where it said, hey, your trigger prompt matched what is the funnel health, but you asked for an additional customer type filter. We're going to go ahead and support that. So I could add customer type here. I can add region. I can add whatever I want here. So my end users can ask about filtered verified answers. So this is useful because you don't have to go and set up a verified answer saying, what is the funnel health for B2B customers? What is the funnel health for enterprise customers? You can just do one and include the filters.
Does the filter, as a question around this one, does the filter come from, so the visual has visual level filters. The drop-down menu of that filtered list that you pulled from, is that something that you're configuring at the visual level to say, these are the kind of filters that we apply to this visual, and then you're like picking from a drop-down list here? Or is this just something you're picking from the model?
It's a good question. I'm picking from available filters in the report. So if there is a filter that controls the report, the page, or that visual, they'll show up as options there for me to say, yeah, include this or don't include this. There are some limitations. Like right now, we only support basic categorical filters. Advanced filters are coming soon. And then if it's also visualized already in the visual, I can't apply it on top. So if I had a legend here that broke this down by region, I couldn't apply a filter that was also region. It's just wouldn't work well. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I saved that. Let's do another side-by-side analysis here of what it looks like now that I have my verified answer set up. So I'll say, what is the funnel health? And
tell me about it. When the typing gets, when the computer starts lagging and your typing is behind, it throws you off so much.
I know, I'm like, what have I typed yet? What is the?
Yes, I totally get it.
I should have just copied and pasted. I think my computer's like maybe overheating or something. So
you're giving it a lot of load here. You're streaming and you're doing two desktops. I mean, it is just screaming for some help here.
Yeah, we're gonna need to take a nice cool break after this. Have a little coffee break.
Exactly right.
Okay, so on the prep side, you can see that what is the funnel health? This triggered my verified answer. It's looking good. I can see the data that was used here. If I applied a filter, this would be applied here.
Yeah.
Over on the other side, Copilot answered. It made a reasonable guess, actually. So again, funnel is not anywhere in the model, anywhere in the report, the word funnel.
Mm-hmm.
So it made a reasonable guess, and it did get it right, which is great. But it didn't give me the visual right in the response here. So, prepping just makes it better. Like I didn't get a bad answer without the prep, but I got a better answer with the prep. So that's kind of it's a good way to think about how prep your data can improve your Copilot experience.
So thinking of this about like we have this model, you're done a little bit of prepping on this one to kind of get us answers that you're kind of anticipating from your audience.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have hundreds of these models across our organization. Is there any way to like mark these or let the AI know, hey, we want to specify these are the models that are ready to go. Like we've prepped them, they're good to go, and you can use them directly inside this experience. Because I would imagine, again, our mileage will vary whether it's prepped or not prepped, and we may want to lock in on having the Copilot standalone experience only focusing on models that we've been prepping, because that's where our effort has been spent. I don't want you getting a bunch of random answers out of things that I haven't prepped yet. Duh. Doesn't that make sense? So how do we solve that problem?
I'm so glad you just teed me up to the essentially last thing I really wanted to show, which is that exact feature where you can say this model has officially been blessed by the AI gods. You are good to go. You can ask whatever you want about this model and you're going to get a good prepped answer. Unfortunately, the tool is a little bit hidden. So I will do like a demo of how to actually get to this setting because it's a little bit buried. So in the semantic model, this is the semantic model I was preparing when you saw me in the report.
Mm-hmm.
I have my file option. I go to file, I go to settings, if my cursor can keep up. And this will bring up all the semantic model settings here. There is a section for AI preparation. Here it is. And if I drop this down, there's a setting here that says prepped for AI. Now, what this actually does today is tell users, hey, yep, you're good to go. You can ask questions about this freely. Like we're not going to block any of these responses. We're not going to make it hard to get an answer in the immersive experience. If you're here asking questions about a model that has not been checked, prepped for AI, you're going to get what we call a friction treatment. So I'll ask a question and I'll say, how many people from Maui visited other islands in Hawaii? I'll get a response that says, hey, we can show you the answer, but just so you know, this model has not been prepped for AI. Do you still want to see the answer? And the end user can say, yes, I want to see the answer, and then have a conversation. But it gives them an idea that like, okay, these answers might not be 100% nuanced or contextual to like how I'm asking these questions. So that's the today experience. The tomorrow experience is there will be an admin control saying only let people ask questions about data that's been prepped on this standalone experience. So exactly what you were saying.
Okay.
And you can kind of omit anything that has not been prepped from this experience, but that's coming soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else that we should be checking out here? This is amazing. I love the fact that we're going through this and prepping things. This is incredibly useful for us being able to like starting to do this next layer of getting data prepped and getting things set up for these models. One, again, just as a side note here, this is additional work in addition to just building the semantic model. So, as I'm looking at this as a developer, as a professional around the Power BI ecosystem, for sure, this is something you should always be thinking about for any of your certified data sets, right? Certified data sets, things you're already spending a lot of time growing, maturing, making sure that they're like spot on and really good. It's very important for you to spend that extra effort on those certified models. Now, in a team, in a department, those models that are like maybe suggested or they're not part of your certified process, mileage will vary, right? Play with it. Experiment with the feature. You would definitely want to use it to get better answers on those models as well. But whenever I look at these new features, I'm always thinking about, is the investment of my time going to add large value to a large number of audience members when we're building these things, right? So this is an area where I look at it and start balancing the effect of, okay, there's a I'm testing this out, trying it, and then I'm also looking at it going, okay, we're now certifying and pushing out regular data. We're expecting people to use that context in the Copilot home. And so now you can justify the spend of the extra time and effort to prep it. And you're making this ever easier. So it's going to be more and more models should just be prepped using AI.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about, does the model and this Copilot experience, I know we're probably almost at time here, but can you speak a little bit about how important now it is to add like descriptions for your measures and your tables? And like, I mean, we're talking about rich context. The semantic model holds all this really rich business logic, information, data, words, and text, right? Just making a measure and just saying you're done, I think is no longer a thing anymore. We're going to want to really enrich everything in the model.
Yes, yes to all the things. But I'm happy to speak on it in a more detailed way. So the way that Copilot, right off the bat in this immersive experience, tells me what is relevant to my ask. Like if I just go in here and say, what is the Power BI usage? Or you saw me do, what's my funnel analysis look like? The way that it's showing me what reports or semantic models or data agents are relevant is with that metadata. So descriptions for the reports, descriptions for the visuals, measure descriptions, any annotations, like that is the stuff that we're looking at to surface the most relevant. That's one of the things that we're looking at to surface the most relevant artifact for you. So all of that documentation is going to be very, very important. Now, we're making strides in making this easier. Like for example, today, there's no excuse anymore. Copilot will write all of your measure descriptions for you, for your model. So
yes.
No excuses anymore, folks. But we'll do similar things for the report itself and for the visuals and help you in making sure that those things have good, hearty, unique descriptions, because the more unique and specific the description is, the easier it's going to be to surface the most relevant results in this experience. So yes, very, very important.
Absolutely. Love it. We have 2 questions here in the background here. I just want to kind of funnel them your way. And again, you can feel free to answer them how you want. So the first question that kind of came out from Finch is, what are we looking at for like, when will prep data for AI features come out and support other things like Direct Lake? So Direct Lake is another way we can get data from the lakehouse into a semantic model. Is there again, I'm not going to push you on a timeline, but is it on the backlog? Are we thinking about this? Like where are we at with the Direct Lake experience of this as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now our scope for prep is limited to things that are shown as results in immersive, essentially. So reports, semantic models, data agents, and that's kind of where we're capping it for now. That is not to say that we won't have some kind of prep experience in the future, but so today, all of the prep that you just saw me do is saved to the semantic model. The benefit of that is it's part of the semantic model, and that trickles down to reports as well. There's also an ask, more than we get for prep at the one lake level. There's more of an ask for prep at the report level or prep at the specific artifact level. So that is going to be the next thing that we tackle. Post that, I'll probably have a better timeline for you for more source related preparation. But for now, we're focusing on semantic models, data agents, reports.
And let me ask the question just maybe slightly differently, just to make sure we're also thinking the same thing, right? Does prep for data on a semantic model that is using Direct Lake, that'll still work, right? And there's no issues there.
So right now there's a couple limitations because these are done in desktop. The desktop support for tooling does not yet support OneLake. So it needs to be an import model or I think a composite model.
Yes.
However, we're releasing tooling in the service very soon, and that will support Direct Lake models. Now, verified answers you can build in the service today. So there is Direct Lake support for verified answers specifically, but not for the rest of the tooling.
Okay, I think that was more the line of the question of like, hey, it's going to be a semantic model. We just want to make sure that Direct Lake support for semantic models using that is coming eventually. And so I'm loving the experience.
Prepping like a sword. I was like, let me put it on the backlog. Let me talk.
No. I don't think we're trying to prep for AI through the lakehouse. I think we're focusing on like semantic model prepping back to source that is Direct Lake. So maybe I asked the question the wrong way. No. All right, so good. I think we answered that one well. Another question came out from Mukesh talking about, he was just trying to understand the impact, and I think I answered it correctly. So I'm just going to reiterate the question here again one last time to make sure we kind of get it out right. He said, I have one semantic model where I have all tables checked. I have the same semantic model where I'm removing one table from the checked item list, right? Does the unchecked table ever get sourced or returned in results from Copilot? Like, is it literally excluding it from the queries? So how's that working there? Okay.
Yes.
Now this is okay, good. Just make sure I got the right answer. That's what I responded with. So I think I got somewhat of the right answer. This is also not a security and governance feature. So this is just letting the AI know when you're looking for answers or funneling the data from the model back into the AI, don't use that table as a reference point. So it's not securing it. It's not taking away governance. It's not doing anything specific to remove that information from the access of the model. It's just focusing the AI's attention away from that table, I guess would be a good way of saying it, right?
That is correct. Essentially what's happening is when a user asks a question that can't be answered by the report, the Copilot, the model will say, okay, let's look at the semantic model and see if we can find an answer there and generate a visual for you. All that happens is when Copilot looks at the semantic model, they don't see anything you have unchecked, so they can't use it to actually answer questions. So if you uncheck everything, you're going to get a response that says like, I couldn't find any data to respond with, or I don't know what any of your question means. There's no data to even give you. So things like that.
Awesome. I think that's it for questions. I think with that, Carly, thank you so much for your time. This was a great demo. Love seeing this side-by-side piece of like prepping without prepping and how all that works. That was awesome being able to like really see the comparison. Thank you for giving us additional details, like what the feature is. It's a little bit of the roadmappy things of, hey, Direct Lake is coming. These are important features the community to really understand and internalize as they start playing with these features themselves. So thank you very much. Round 2 went very well, very smooth. I see a round 3 of this in your future at some point. I really do appreciate it. And so as more features come out around Copilot and the Prep for AI space, I'll be sure to make sure I stay in tune with Carly, what she's working on, and we would love to bring you back on the channel for more topics around this as we build more features within Power BI. Yeah, excellent.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's always a joy. So thank you.
You don't have to lie. It's okay. You can be real. Excellent.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you all for listening. If you like this video, make sure that you give it a good thumbs up. Let us know down in the comments what other kind of content you'd like to see. I'll definitely make sure I funnel it over to Carly. Thank you so much, Power BI community. We have a lot of fun doing these things, and we appreciate your viewership in the video. Also, if you have any other topics you want to know, let us know in the comments, and we will try to add that in. Thank you all so much. Thanks, Carly.
Thanks.